I don't think we should have workfare as replacing jobs. What I would like there to be is a type of communal return to a community. And so what I would do is I would have compulsion, but only allied to community projects led by non-profits that were focused not on replacing existing jobs, but on assets of community value. So let's take, for example, renovating a school that you could then sell on. I would like to see people get an equity share in that business.
But then you're not talking about workfare, are you? I mean,
no,
you are talking about an equity share is payment.
No, but but it's a different type of payment.
You've got to deal with the facts as they are, and the facts as they are with workfare is that often people are compelled to do jobs that somebody else would have been doing for money. It's a stitch up between a corporate employer and the government. It's not a job that gives the person any training. It's not a job that gives them any dignity. Often they have a wonderful work ethic and they were just fired. Often they have a very strong...
And in that case, Zoe, I agree with you when it's like that.
Well, then, but that is what it's like.
Yeah, but then we're not talking about principle now, are we? We're talking about the current execution of it,
well, if you want to talk about the principle of having like amazing community projects in which you build wonderful assets for the community and the people who built them have a stake in them and the people who have a stake in them have skills thereafter, then of course nobody's going to argue with you.
Well, good, because then what we've done is we've agreed on the principle, but
we haven't, Philip, because if you're talking about having a stake in it, that is payment, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the point is there's multiple different types of payments. So payment isn't just money, as you well know.
An asset is money.
Yes, but assets are education, they're skills.
Right, so you wouldn't give them a part of the building, you would just give them a skill.
I would. I think that there can be things where you do sort of labour for equity return.
So we are talking about tangible equity.
So what we're agreeing on is actually what people do should be something for something, and I don't agree when workfare is something for nothing. In that we're agreeing.
Well, I don't think we are in agreement. I think what I'm listening to is a scheme in which people aren't compelled, but they do something for the benefit of their community for a social good. And I don't think you would have any trouble persuading people to do that. I think the problem with this debate is that we paint people on benefits as though they don't want to do anything, whereas the majority of them are working like dogs for in-work benefits or desperate for work in areas of very high unemployment. So I disagree with the entire premise that there are some people who need to be compelled, otherwise they'll sit on their sofa watching Vanessa.
I think there are some people like that, unfortunately. I think there are a small minority.
But you know, just the very idea that you would have a policy discussion based on kind of some people who are as rare probably as people who have duck houses.
We're not. We're talking about, I'm talking about how do you create a welfare system that genuinely pushes people into the type of work that sort of endows everybody, the community and the people themselves, with worth, value and return. So I think the idea of scare quotes around this, compelling people to do something in exchange for benefits isn't wrong.
Well, a number of points. Firstly, this idea that, you know, people get out of the habit of work and they get out of the habit of work because their work is insecure, I completely dispute that. I think people with insecure work really, really hard.
No, I agree.
And their work ethic is second to none. If you look at the difference between somebody who's doing a job which doesn't even cover their rent and they still do it, and an MP who's doing a job and won't even do it unless his rent gets covered separately, the people on really low wages have an amazing work ethic, which we would do disastrously badly if we ignored it. Secondly, they do, you know, you can't fine. If you want people to be employed, if you want them to be employed gainfully, then employ them. You know, if you're serious about getting people to work, then pay them the minimum wage and get them to do up their own area. Then what's wrong with doing it in a dignified way that dignifies them with the title employee?
What I do object to in compulsion schemes is doing work that has no dignity, is demeaned and is viewed as a type of slavery. Absolutely. But nonetheless, if you look at something like internships, I think they're a thoroughly good idea.
Well, obviously you do, because you work in a think tank. I mean, where would ResPublica be without internships?
Well, where would many young people be without internships?
Well, they would be getting paid.
No, because what this type of work does is it's a form of dignity.
I think there's an economic problem that if you kind of sever the link between work and payment, you do something really fundamental to change the way people look at work. And I don't think you can get people into the habit of work when that work isn't paid.
I think I agree with your last point, and I think that compulsion to work, I think, shouldn't be taken as just a negative. I believe in something for something, and I think that's the right principle. That's what Beveridge was founded on. That's what I think welfare needs to be founded on.